All right, we are back with another high ticket sales role play. Today, we're going to jump into an offer that is either for a CEO, a manager, someone that is essentially a leader, whether they own the business or a leader in the position of management. And what they are struggling with is to communicate effectively. So they're looking to do personal development work to be able to effectively communicate so that they can make more money either for their own company or for the company that they're in a position of. So today we have Michael, who's going to play the closer for that offer, and Lee is going to be the prospect. Now, as always, we're going to dig into the discovery because the discovery is where 90% of the sale is made or lost. And so if you don't know the things that I'm going to show you in this role play, I guarantee that you're flushing money down the toilet. So without any further ado, let's jump into this high ticket sales role play and show you the things that you need to be doing. Michael, kick us off with your opening question.
Okay, so Lee, I'm curious about one thing. What is your biggest challenge in your business right now?
Yeah, good question. I suppose the biggest challenge right now is turnover of employees. We're having a lot of people not stay as long as I would like to stay in the company.
Okay, why is it a problem for you?
Well, I run a tech company, so
Hmm.
training people up, it takes a considerable amount of time. Although they are somewhat experienced, it might be like an onboarding process of like 3 months until they're ready to really hit the ground running. But then if employees leave after the 6 month mark, we have to go through the entire hiring process again, the training process, and it's costing the business a lot of money.
Okay, so if I understand well, you have a big turnover and it requires about 3 months to have a person ready to work and to really bring value to the company. And if the person leaves before the 6 month period, what's the impact? What's the consequence?
Well, the consequence is you are correct. Like after 3 months, they're skilled, they're ready to rock and roll essentially. But if someone leaves after 6 months, we have to go through the whole hiring process again. Like it's multiple
Okay.
interviews to select candidates to work for this company. You'd have to have a good amount of experience and skill. So it's costing a lot of money and time and energy to be honest.
Okay. And right now, how is the turnover in the company?
Yeah, so this month we've turned over about 100K.
Oh, 100K. Okay.
Correct.
So 100K, which means that, can you explain to me exactly what does that mean in terms of people, in terms of
Yeah. So your question was related to the revenue. So we turned over $100,000 in the past month.
okay. So this means that it's a loss of 100K, right?
Well, though we've turned over 100K,
Hmm.
but due to having to onboard more employees this month because we had a decent amount of churn last month, we had to invest more money back into that. So the profit margins are less this month.
This
Okay.
this will happen sometimes on a call, guys, where there is what you would call terminology for certain things that can be used for two different things.
Mhm.
Turnover a company is how much money it's making, but turnover is also your churn of staff.
Yes.
So
Okay. Yeah,
so so this
that's
can
the
this can
point.
happen, guys. You got to be
Yeah.
careful, and all you've got to do is slow down and just
Hmm.
define the two terms. Okay, awesomely. So just to make sure I'm clear, you're now referring to turnover in terms of money for the company. Before you were referring to turnover in terms of the amount of people that you were losing. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, awesome. Let's define these two in terms of numbers. You're mentioning that the company is doing 100K last month. Is that accurate? Yes. Okay. And is that when you say turnover, just to make sure we're crystal clear, is that revenue or is that profit? That's revenue. Okay, got it. Cool. Now let's talk about turnover in terms of churn of people. And all you've got to do is just break it down. But this happens 1 in 10 calls, guys. Even business owners that are the prospect, they'll get confused on words that you're using. So just backtrack, clarify everything, and then go forward again. All right, keep going.
Okay. So you mentioned turnover. So you mentioned 100K. So this is what, revenue or profit?
Oh, that's revenue.
Revenue. Okay. And on those 100K,
Mhm.
what was the turnover in terms of people leaving or just yeah, the people turnover?
Yeah, so in the past month, we've lost a total of 10 employees.
Out of how much?
We currently have 60 team members.
Okay,
So
10 out of
this is good, but it will be easier for the prospect to understand and for you to understand if you used a container. Now, what I mean by a container is what exactly are we talking about in regards to the turnover? The specific niche of turnover that Lee was referring to, correct me if I'm wrong, initially from the call, doesn't mean there's not more to it, was turnover during a training period.
Okay.
So go specific because turnover could mean, well, we had Jenny, she was in the company for 10 years, she left last month. Well, that's not really what we're talking about. And I know that because Lee said from the beginning, the problem is employee turnover, specifically when it comes time to train. It takes us 3 months to train people. And during that time, we're losing a lot of money. Okay, let's narrow in on that. Doesn't mean there isn't other general turnover, but he wasn't referring to that as the problem. So I would have gone slightly different to the data gathering and I would have said, okay, got it. So you tell me that it takes you 3 months to train people. Is that accurate? Yes. Just ballparking the number. I know it's probably something that's staggered, but when you do have a 3 month training period, how many people do you hire to go through that training? 25 people. Okay, got it. And how many are you looking to get out of that? Are you looking to get 25 or are you looking to get a fraction of that? Let's just say he said 25 because it will make the numbers easier for the explanation. Got it. So you hire 25 and you're looking to keep 25. Is that accurate? Yes, got it. Last training cycle, the last one that you had over that 3 month period, how many did you get? Oh man, we got 5. Okay, so let me just clarify I've got this right. You wanted 25, you got 5, so you need another 20. So if it takes you 3 months to do this and you get 5 every 3 months, you're telling me that what should take you 3 months actually takes you 5 cycles of that, which is 15 months. Notice how he's now like, holy shit, it's taking me 15 months to get what I wanted a quota of in 3 months. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
By honing in on the specifics, it's going to make the data gathering so much more crystal clear.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So if you want to, I would go back and redo it using kind of the framework that I gave you. Put
Okay,
in the
perfect.
chat, guys, if this is making sense. Anybody confused with that? Good. Awesome. All right. Go back, Michael, and go through it again.
Okay. So if we look at your last training cycle, how many people did you have in that training cycle total?
Yeah, so we onboarded 20 candidates.
Okay, 20 candidates. And out of those 20, how many did you expect to have at the end of the training cycle?
I don't like
We,
the
we
word
were
expect
Okay.
because it's not expectation, because his expectation is probably based on his track record of how unsuccessful he's been. It's
Okay.
not expectation, is how many did you need to hire?
Need. Yes,
Yeah.
need.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
slight change.
So out of those 20, how many did you need at the end of the training cycle?
yeah, we needed 10.
10. Okay. And how many did you get?
We hit half of that.
Oh,
We onboarded 5 total new employees.
okay. So you had only half of what you needed, right? Okay.
Correct.
So it means that in fact you would have needed 2 cycles to get what you needed in 1 cycle, right?
Correct. We now have to go through another 12 weeks again, taking on, yes, less people, but to aim for 5 employees that we can take on and actually employ.
Mm.
Very
Oh,
good, Michael. If you want to amplify it, a couple of different ways we could do that. Instead of saying it would have taken you twice as long, and
mhm.
this is just what's known as perspective. Telling someone that the amount of time that something would have taken is twice as long as 1 cycle, the numbers in their mind are 1 and 2. And the difference between 1 and 2 is double, but because it's just 1 extra digit, it doesn't feel like a big difference.
Yeah.
Very different to if you'd have said, so for every 3 months that you want to hire, it's taking you 6 months. The ratio of those numbers is exactly the same.
So even
But
for a period of 90 days, it takes actually 180 days. Wouldn't be interesting also?
you could say that it's just now he's having to compute that
Yeah.
you've translated 3 months into 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's just adding an extra step for his brain to do. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
he's already said the time 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So does this make sense, guys? Like if you say to someone, I'll give you $1 and tomorrow I'll give you two. In their mind, they're like, well, I made an extra dollar. If you said, I'll give you $50 and tomorrow I'll give you 100, they're like, fuck, $50 extra. The ratio of the jump is exactly the same. You doubled the amount of money you're giving them. But this
Mm-hmm.
is just where you've got to understand perspectives. In the
Yeah.
person's mind, saying it took you twice as long, he's like, yeah, it took me. In his mind, the number that he's seeing in front of him is 2x. It's
Yeah.
not a big number, it's the number two, as opposed to 3 months extra, which you wouldn't say, you'd say 6 months total. So what you tried to do in 3 months takes you 6 months. Is that correct? Yes. Then we can multiply it out even further and ask him how many cycles of this he's been running.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then you're really multiplying it because he might say, oh, every year we do one of these hires. Okay. And for how many years has this been your hiring process to scale your company? Oh, 5 years. Okay, got it. So in 5 years, to accomplish what you wanted as far as human resource growth, it's actually going to take you 10 years if nothing changes. Is that accurate? Now he's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're just multiplying it out. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay. So on this one cycle, how often do you need to do a new cycle in the company?
Be
Yeah.
careful you don't say how often do you need, which is
Huh?
hypothetical. It's how often do you do? How
Okay.
often do you do these cycles? Not do you need to do cycles, because that's
Okay.
hypothetical. We want
Super.
to show the current cost and the current pain historically,
Yeah.
because he's already paid that price and he's already going to continue paying that actual price as
Yeah.
opposed to a hypothetical price that you're going to pay.
Yeah.
Then you're going to disassociate the prospect from the pain.
Okay.
Make sense? All right, keep going.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, Lee, how often do you do a new training cycle?
Yeah, top of my head, I would say every 6 months we have to go through this cycle of onboarding new candidates, bringing them through the onboarding process, and then selecting people to join the company. It's okay for a while, but then it's just like a revolving door. It just seems that people are coming in and then they're leaving.
Okay. So every 6 months you need 10 new people and you indeed have only five, right?
Yeah, so every 6 months we'd have to go through a process of that hiring process again.
Okay.
Just
And on
pause,
yeah,
Lee.
on a yeah,
Did you say you do it every 3 months or did you say every six? I didn't catch it.
six.
Okay, you did
Six.
say. Okay, keep going.
And
Um, s-
yeah, tell me.
every 6 months, on average, I'd say it's about 10 employees. Every half a year, we have to essentially
Hmm.
bring on board. They're the numbers I have top of mind.
And for how long is it already like this?
What exactly?
Since when did you start to have those processes of,
Be specific.
yeah.
So, okay, so at the moment you're doing a hiring cycle twice a year,
Mhm.
trying to bring on 10 people, but only bring on five. How many years have you been struggling with this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. Got it. And when I say struggling, just to make sure we're clear, is that struggling with roughly the same misalignment in what you need versus what you're getting in terms of employees? Yes. Okay, got it. So now I've clarified that. So in the last, whatever number I just said, 5 years, you would have wanted 5 years times two cycles per year times 10 people. You would have wanted 10 times 10, I think that's right, 100 people, but you only got 50. Is that accurate? Yes. Okay. There's one question we're missing, which is going to really stack onto the data gathering. Do you know what that is, Michael? It's as
What's the
far as
impact? What the financial impact of,
yes, but what rather than it wouldn't be a leading question per se, but it's quite telegraphed, which means it's kind of obvious what you're doing.
uh,
What's a better way to get that in a more subtle way?
mm,
How are you going to define, like, how would you define what the financial impact is? What is it about these people that he wants that's going to define their financial impact?
what are they expected to bring to the company in terms of revenue, perhaps?
Yes, although that's quite a loaded question in terms of, I mean, does he know? What's a more general way of getting that information? You're on the right lines. It's
Yeah.
simply what role are these people? Are you
Oh,
trying to hire 10 people that just do data entry, or are you trying to hire 10 people that are managers?
hmm.
You're trying to hire 10 people that are salespeople that bring in $50,000 a month for the company. Well, then you can calculate that pretty well.
Yeah.
So then you say, okay, so you're looking to scale the company, obviously, because you're looking to grow with hires. What specifically are you hiring for in regards to these people that you're trying to get 10 of every 20 of actually every year in regards to their output for the company? What is their role? Oh, it's blank, blank, blank. Does that make sense? So by getting the role, you can start to get a little bit more clarity.
Perfect.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Keep going.
Okay. So if I understood well, every 6 months you have a new process of training. So this means that you need like 40 people and you get 20. For how long have you been struggling with that process?
Yeah, this has been going on probably for the last 2 years.
2 years. Okay. So in 2 years, was it the same proportion? Did you indeed need during those 2 years, each year, 20 people and you got only 10? Was the proportion similar?
Is it
Yeah,
is it
more or
not
less.
double that? He wanted 20 every 6 months, or did I
He
miss
wanted,
something?
so he took 20 every 6 months. Out of those 20, he required 10, but he got only five.
Well
Yeah.
done. Got it. Good.
So indeed he needs 20 every year, if I understood well.
You're correct. I was wrong. You're right.
So Lee, you have two processes every year of training. So you need indeed every year 20 people. Was that the same last year when you started the process?
It was the same. So
Oh,
it hasn't necessarily gotten worse, but there's not been any improvements. It's still the same the last 2 years.
okay, so 20 plus 20, it's 40 people you need for 2 years, and you have only 20, right?
Yeah. Well, like we replaced them last year, but yeah, more or less what you're saying is correct.
And so
Oh,
then
okay.
and then
More or
re
less?
so then re one sec, then re-summarize that data as glass half empty. So what you
Okay.
did was fine. You wanted 40, you got 20, then you want to re-summarize that and say, so over the last 2 years, with your current hiring process, you're 20 people down on
Hmm.
the company. Is that
Okay.
accurate? Because
Yeah.
now in his mind, it's 20 people down, 20 people below what he needed. It's a very good foundation to then be going into the implications of that, because you're starting your phrasing of that with glass half empty. You're
Yeah.
currently losing something, you're currently missing something. Let's now expand that into another layer of clarity, which is what is that costing you?
Yeah.
Which I
Okay.
would personally do it through, okay, these 20 people that you're down, I know it might be a bit of a range, but just in general, Lee, what is the role of these people that you're currently missing
Hmm.
20 of?
That was
Oh,
the next
they're
question.
this, and this. Okay, now obviously as the CEO, Lee, I know you probably don't know all the detailed numbers because you have managers, but if you were to put a ballpark on it, the revenue generated from maybe each of these people, or if you want to just put it as a lump sum, what would you say it's cost you as a company to be down by 20 of these people compared to your quota? Oh,
Hmm.
I think it's cost the company $1 million, $2 million. Okay, wow, interesting. Right. So you see what I'm doing, and I'm
Yeah.
being very calibrated to understand which people like, especially business owners, which I've
Yeah.
talked about before. The difference between B2B and B2C is nothing as far as philosophy. It's just B2B business owners are going to give you less of a leash to fuck up things. That's the only
Yeah.
difference. There's no
Mhm.
difference in how you sell a B2B person. They just have less tolerance. So what
Yeah.
I'm doing is I'm being very calibrated to say, I know you're the CEO. You probably don't have all of the line by line P&L data. You've probably got a manager to do that. But if you were to ballpark the number, what would you put it as?
Yeah.
The fact that I'm showing that intelligence, the business owner is like, yeah, you're not asking me, to clarify a number that if you had any fucking life experience, you would know that I wouldn't know that number. Like, just
Yeah.
compare, quick side tangent here, guys. Imagine two closers. They ask the same question because they know they need that data in two different ways. I do it the way I did. Hey, I know you're the CEO. You probably got managers to do all of the Excel sheets and all of that. So you probably don't know the numbers exact. But if you were to ballpark the number, what would you say this is costing you to be down by 20 people? That way of phrasing it versus a shit closer that's like, so how much exactly has that cost the company? The CEO is just going to look at you like you're a fucking spastic. They're like, well, you don't know anything about life. You don't know anything about business. You don't even know why you're asking that question. It's probably just because you think you need that. So this is where calibration can immediately break the trust of the prospect. Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah,
Okay. All right, keep going.
perfect. If I had asked the question before, I would have reacted on the more or less, but since I will go one step before to down to see the that he's down 20 people, I just leave that alone. Okay, so during the last 2 years, you needed 40 people. You had only 20. So you're down 20 people according to your needs. What roles were those people?
Yeah, so they're in.
Hang on. If you
Yeah,
ask that question in that way, Lee's being a good prospect, which I'm glad you are,
yeah,
Lee, because we want to get through the discovery. A real business owner wouldn't take that. They'd be like, do you not realize that they're not all going to be the same role? So you've got to
uh,
caveat the question. I
okay,
know that there's probably a range of different people among those 20, but if you were to kind of lean the data in one direction as far as generally what type of roles you're looking for with those 20 people, what would they be? You gotta
yeah,
articulate the question. Otherwise, they just like he'll be most prospects, even business owners, they're not confrontational. They don't want confrontation. They'll just
mm,
say, oh, this type of role. But you didn't have, not you, the closer specifically, didn't have the calibration to realize that they're now just hedging their answers to kind of just get through the sales call. They've lost interest in you as the salesperson being very accurate.
yeah,
And they'll just get to the end of the sales call and say, oh, yeah, I need to check with my board before we make a decision. The reason they said I need to check with my board was because what you just did 15 minutes ago in the discovery. They lost interest in you. So
yeah,
you have to be ahead of the curve and be
mm,
like, let me think about the question I'm about to ask. Is that socially calibrated to this situation? A business owner in this situation, would they know that data? And if the answer is no, but you still need the information, you have to explain it. Listen,
yeah,
I know 20 people, they're not all going to be the exact same role. But as far as like the types of role, if you were to kind of look at a more low level role, a more high level role, a direct revenue generating role like a salesperson versus more of an administrator, kind of ballparking, what are these 20 hires? And the way I'm going to phrase it is very important. What are these 20 hires that you're missing?
mhm,
That you are missing, that you are down. What are those hires? Because now he's connecting my question to the financial implication. Oh, I'm
yeah,
missing blank, blank, blank.
mm,
Got it. Now, let's say he said they're all administrators, as in they're not salespeople that are generating hard cash. My next obvious question has to be, okay, cool. So given that they're administrators and they're not directly generating, a line of revenue for the business, and this is very important how I phrase this. You do not say, what impact is it then having on the business? Because that's leading.
yeah,
I need to do it from curiosity. And I would say, given that they're administrators and they don't have a direct line of revenue that they're responsible for, I'm confused or a bit curious. Is there some type of implication of not having these people? I'm almost like, maybe there's not, and therefore I don't understand why we're on the call. If you'd have just phrased that one question the opposite and been like, so what financial implication is it having that you don't have
yeah,
these administrators? The CEO is going to see exactly what you're doing. And of
yeah,
course, he's going to see what you're doing because you're trying to do something. You're trying to sell him. You're trying to box him into a corner, as
yeah,
opposed to being like, so if they're just like customer support, I'm confused or curious, like, was there any particular incident or reason why being down by 20 customer support people has had some type of impact on the business? Oh, yeah, well, 6 months ago, we had a bunch of, things go wrong in the business and people were complaining. And that wouldn't have been that big of an issue. We could have tolerated it if our customer support team was larger and they could have responded to people and done, collateral damage mitigation. But because we didn't have a bunch of support people, the situation escalated. How do you mean escalated? Well, it ended up being in the newspaper and blank, 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 and people were commenting on forums online. Okay, can I ask a direct question? Did you see a drop in your revenue after that? Oh, yeah, man. Our revenue the next month went down by $1 million. Oh, wow, shit. So now I'm tying the whole thing together through pure detachment.
yeah,
Does that make
mm,
sense? You gotta
mhm,
you gotta see what you're doing, guys.
yeah.
All right, keep going, Michael. Good stuff.
Okay. So in the last 2 years, you are down 20 people in your staff. Now, certainly they have different roles. You were hiring for different roles, but if we had to ballpark, like on those 20 people, is there some kind of average of what those roles are or what those people are?
Yeah, they're mostly managerial leadership roles.
Okay, leadership, managerial. Okay. So you are down 20 leaders or managers. And I'm curious because,
Hang on,
yeah,
because of his answer,
yeah,
there'd be a follow-up question that you could ask to just go a little bit deeper. What would it be? Because you've gone into the layer of what type of role or department are these people in? And
yeah,
what he said was actually not answering the question. He said they're managers. Well, manager is like kind of saying, I'm a sports person. What
yeah,
would be the next question you'd ask someone if they said, I'm a sports person? You'd say, what sport?
yeah.
Sports person is just a general label. So your
Mm,
next question should have probably been, okay, and again, there's 20 of them, so I'm assuming it's probably a range of different departments, but any particular departments that you're really trying to fill these manager roles for? Oh, it's the sales team. Got it. Makes total sense. How many of those are for the sales team? Oh, we got three sales teams and we need three managers. We've got one sales team, we need two managers. Okay, got it. Now I'm curious because you really answered that question very quickly. This is real calibration, guys. You answered that question very quickly. Any particular reason you focused on hiring, you focused on the missing managers for the sales team? Oh, well, the reason that out of the 10 people that we're missing, or 20, whatever the number was, out of the 20 we're missing, the three that would have been the sales managers, they're the ones that are really fucking our business for not having those positions. How so? You see how I'm leading with my questions to get all the information, get all the layers, but then I'm watching how he's responding. And how he's responding, I'm navigating based on what the prospect is guiding you to where the gold is. Just
mhm.
let them guide you. You have to ask them, where do we go? Well, we go left. Okay, cool. I'll follow you. And like they said, now we go right. Okay, I'll follow you. And you're just asking them which direction you're going and then following them to where they're taking you. Does that make
Oh,
sense? All right, keep
yes.
going.
Okay. So out of those 20 roles of leaders or
Sorry,
managers,
Michael. Sorry to interrupt you. Just one thing. Don,
yeah,
if they've just told you it's directly impacting the revenue, you don't have to be skeptical. Oh, it's impacting the revenue. How much by? You don't have to be skeptical because they've just told you it's impacting the revenue. It's where you're like, I don't see how missing a bunch of customer support people is that big of a deal. And the only way you would not see it as a big deal is if you're trying to see something that isn't already there. In other words, it's what they call it, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're like, well, I know I need to get a financial implication or they're not going to give me money. So let me just see something that's not there. Attachment. If you're not attached, you're like, okay, customer support people, I don't get it. And like real salespeople are not afraid to be like, I don't know, I don't get it. The worst salespeople are the ones that are not willing to admit, I don't know. Good salespeople are the ones that like, I don't get it. I have no idea. Okay. All right. Sorry to interrupt you, Michael. Keep going.
perfect. So Lee, one question. If there are those 20 people who were supposed to have a leader or manager role, was there any specific team or role that those managers were supposed to have?
Yeah, specifically product development. They were
Product development.
managing they were managing team members, employees in the product development department.
Okay, so this is a critical role, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Especially given that we're a tech company.
I wouldn't say that. It's too leading.
Yeah, that
Don't say
that
that.
was
Yeah.
I wanted to
Don't say
try
that.
that because I thought perhaps it would increase the level of
It's never going to increase the level of anything if you're putting
yeah.
the words in their mouth. If he said
Okay,
that, that would be amazing. Okay. All right. Keep going.
perfect. Okay. So product development. And I'm curious because you don't have those 20 leaders or managers, has there been any kind of impact on the company revenue or results?
Go step by step. Don't go from product
Oh,
development to revenue. What you're
okay.
doing is right, but you're jumping a step. So it should have sounded something like this. Okay, got it. So product development managers is what you're missing that seems to be a priority. I'm curious, Lee, have you got any product development that you're trying to get handled? Oh, yeah, we're trying to build this brand new product for blank, blank, blank. Okay, why? Well, we've realized that our revenue's been stagnant because we haven't had any new products, blah, 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 blah. So I'm taking what he says and using that to go where it needs to go
Yeah,
and letting him take me where it needs to go.
perfect.
Okay. All right. Keep going. Personally, I would have wanted to know how many of the managers are supposed to be for the product development just to get that number. Oh, it's 50% of them. Holy shit. So half of your problem with HR is specifically impacting the most important aspect of the business, which you mentioned is the product development. Is that accurate? Wow. So I'm curious, given that half of your issue with HR is specifically affecting managers for this very important role, whatever, blah, 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 what impact is that having on, I guess, any particular product development you're trying to do right now? Oh, well, we've had a product that's been in development for 4 years. How long was it supposed to be in development? 6 months. What led to you wanting to build this product? Well, our revenue was stagnant because we hadn't released anything new in a while. When you say stagnant, where did it get stuck at? Oh, it got stuck at 5 million a year. And what was your previous growth before that? Or previously we were growing by 1 million a year. So it's at 5 million. You've been stuck with this issue for 2 years. And so it was at 1 million a year growth. What were you expecting if, and this is not great because it's hypothetical, but you can't really do anything else. What were you expecting the growth to be if you had have secured that new product in time? Well, we were at 1 million a year growth, but we were hoping it would go to 3 million. So correct me if I've done this maths incorrectly here, Lee, but are you saying that by not getting this done in 6 months and still having not got it done in 2 years, that would have been 3 million a year, which is 6 million in 2 years. Obviously, you wouldn't have had the first 1.5 because it would have taken you 6 months to build it. So you're basically down, correct me if this is wrong, by 4.5 million because you haven't been able to hire the managers without your excessive turnover for the product development. Is this accurate? Yes. So and then my next obvious question would be, so where I'm a bit lost here, Lee, is you've had this issue for the first 6 months that you were trying to develop the product. You had a deadline, you had a D-Day, so to speak, 6 months, get the product out, fix the stagnant growth. Have you been doing anything for the last 18 months? Oh, no, not really. Because now we need to challenge the prospect. Why now are you reaching out to fix this after you've already lost an extra 4.5 million? But you see where I was taking it based on the issue is the managers, what type of managers, product development. Why product development? Well, because we need a new product. Why do you need a new product? Because our company has been stagnant on growth. How much by? And then we're just taking it step by step by step by step.
Yeah, perfect.
And then we would obviously later on, and if we hadn't been interrupting, this would have been probably 12 minutes into the call by now. We would then need to shift it to, why do you think you're struggling to get these managers through the training program at the volume you need without them leaving? Well, I think the issue is my communication skills. Why do you think that's the issue? Well, if I'm honest with you, Michael, like every time we bring these managers in, I feel like I'm not really, getting them engaged with the vision of the company. How do you mean? Well, I tell them and blah, 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 blah. So then you would transition it into your solution.
Yeah.
But you don't touch on the solution until you've got the cost of the problem. And if that cost is, it doesn't have to be 4.5 million, but if the cost is not, I've always said if the cost is not at least 10 times the price of your service, people don't buy. And that's not logical, guys, because it should be, if the value of your service is $1 more than the price, that's a net positive. But it's not just the price of the service. It's giving money to a stranger over the phone, changing the direction you're going in life, having to learn something brand new, having to get out your comfort zone. All of the psychological differences are financial implications as well. So if your service is 10K and it's not going to make someone 100K plus, the likelihood is they're not going to buy it.
Yeah.
Even though that's not basic maths logic. It should be, give me 10K and I'll give you 10,001. Okay, well, that sounds reasonable. It doesn't work like that because there's so many other second order and third order reasons why people don't want change. Okay. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Keep going, Michael. Good stuff.
Okay. So Lee, out of those 20 leaders and managers that you don't have, how many of them were really specifically for product development?
Half of them, 10 of them would have been involved with managing the team with product development.
Okay, so 10 managers for product development that you don't have. And why?
Pause. Lee, I'm going to role play with you. Why such a big number?
I'm not really sure. As I said, they just don't really stay a long period of time. That's a
No,
big
no, sorry,
department.
sorry, sorry. Why such a big number of managers that you need for product development?
Yeah, that was
Oh,
the.
because that's our biggest revenue source. Like we have a lot of contracts and deadlines to meet. However, due to this high churn rate of these managers around product development, we're actually getting close to the punchline where we could potentially miss some deadlines and miss out on a lot of revenue for the company.
What is the deadline for?
Well, we were meant to have a specific product developed, ready to go to one of our customers, and that deadline was meant to be met last week.
And so when you say to go to a customer, has this customer already paid for this product?
They pay a little bit upfront, but the majority of the money is actually paid once we actually meet the deadline and they actually get
Understood.
the tech that we build.
Oh, sorry. What's the contract value of that product for you?
Don't really even want to say out loud, but it's 250,000.
And if the product is delivered to them late, what are the financial implications of that 250,000 price tag?
Well, right now we're in discussions. They are being understandable about it. They might give us a bit of leeway in terms of like maybe an extra 2 weeks, but to be honest, with the current situation, with the lack of leadership in the tech department, I just know it's not going to take 2 weeks to get finalized. It's an absolute mess in there at the moment.
And so then what happens?
We haven't necessarily had that conversation, but from my experience being in this industry for a long time, those contracts can just get torn up and they could have someone else on the sidelines who potentially could have been involved and now one of our competitors will get that money.
And so that's 250,000.
Correct.
And how many of these big contracts do you have in regards to, is this your only customer, so to speak, or is this 1/10 of your customer audience, or how is this in terms of a ratio of if you lose this person for business now and business in the future, what chunk of your business is that cutting away?
Yeah, so that's a pretty big deal. We like to get two or three of those a year. So, it is the
So
majority
this
of
is
our
so this
revenue.
is so this is 30 to 50% of your entire business.
That's now potentially on the line because we don't know if they're actually going to allow us to give it to them at a later date. It's all up in the
Right.
air at the moment.
And if I understood you correctly, you said if nothing changes, you don't believe that's going to happen. You don't believe it's going to
Cor-
get done on time.
Well, like 2 weeks they might give us, I'm not sure, but as I said, it's a mess in there. Like we had
But my
three.
question, sorry, my question is, even if they give you 2 weeks, if nothing changes with your ability to hire and secure the right managers to develop the product in the next 2 weeks, you don't think you're going to get it done within 2 weeks if nothing changes, or did I misunderstand?
No, you're 100% correct.
Okay. Remind me again, how much is your business doing currently per year in
Yeah.
revenue?
Yeah, let's change the numbers. Per year, we're doing about 3 mil.
So this is anywhere from 1 to $1.5 million that you're going to lose if you don't do something about this right now per year,
Yeah,
because you're
I've never looked
going
at
to
the numbers
lose.
like that.
Is that accurate? Because you're going to lose 30 to 50% of your customer base if you don't get this product done on time, even with a 2 week extension. The likelihood is they're going to remove themselves from doing business from you, and this is 30 to 50% of your entire customer base. Is that accurate?
Correct. And as I said, we like to have like even three or four of these deals a year.
Right.
And this is the first time now it's been this severe. We're having this problem for the past 2 years. But I'm just at this point now where I'm thinking, well, what happens if this happens again? And again, and we lose out on another 250,000 and another
Well,
quarter of a
hang on.
million.
Before we get to the future, let's talk about right now. If you lost 30 to 50% of your business's income,
Hmm.
do you have enough profit margin that you would not go out of business and bankrupt?
Yeah, I've never even looked at the numbers like that before.
Well, let's look at them now. So your business does 3 million a year in revenue. What does it do in profit?
About 40% profit.
Okay, so we could say 1.3 million. So basically, little bit of leeway depending on if it's 30% of your customer base, 50% of your customer base. But is it fair to say that if you lose this company, your business could go from basically profitable to potentially breaking even or potentially at a loss and therefore out of business?
Yeah, you're nail on the head.
How many years have you put into building this business, Lee, personally?
Well, I've been in tech my whole life. I worked for a tech company for 10 years and then I went out and built this business I've been building this now for the past 8 years.
So when you consider that if you don't fix your human resources issue with hiring the right managers, keeping the right managers so you can develop the product, you may basically lose 15 years of your entire life building this business if it could go under. When you hear that, what's going through your mind?
It's frightening when you put it like that. It almost makes me think I probably should have got this handled a lot sooner. I suppose there was just not like, I suppose, tangible in terms of revenue consequence, I guess you could say, because like we haven't experienced losing a deal like this before. But yeah, it's scary hearing that back.
Why is it scary?
Well, I'm in my mid 40s now. I've been working for the past 18 years. I've then, been building this business for 8 of those years, nearly a decade. And I would like to retire at a reasonable age. And if I had to, God forbid, start over again, well, I don't think retirement would probably even exist for me.
Understood. So my question for you then, Lee, is you mentioned something interesting, which is you should have, yes, guys, that was very intentional silence. That's exactly what I would do on a real call. I'm not going to move on. I'm going to hold that as long as I can. You mentioned that you should have got it handled sooner. Why do you think you didn't?
Good question. I wasn't really able to, I suppose, put my pulse on why this is actually happening. But most recently, with feedback that I've probably been ignoring from other colleagues, people like that, I suppose it might be my responsibility to a certain degree. Obviously, I'm the CEO, I run the company, it's my responsibility, but I mean more so in my communication. That has been communicated through the grapevine that could be a potential reason why we're having this high churn rate is actually down to my own leadership and communication. And I suppose it's just uncomfortable putting my hand up and admitting that and looking for help to solve this.
So if I'm understanding correctly, your discomfort with basically getting the feedback that you need that could have saved your company from going bankrupt has been something that you've ignored. And as a result of that, now in your mid 40s, your entire retirement plan, which was building this business after the last 15 years, is in jeopardy.
Yeah, correct.
So my question for you then is, obviously, if we do decide to bring you in as a company and we teach you what we know about communication so that you can hire the right people and keep the right people so you can get this product developed and not lose your business, we're going to give you a lot of feedback. And most of that feedback is probably going to be you're doing everything wrong. You probably know that, hence why it's not working. So my question for you is, are you at the point now where you're desperate enough to get the feedback you need rather than the feedback you want, that you would actually listen to us and do what you need, what we tell you you need to do so that you don't potentially lose your company? Are you at that point? Because this has been a habit of yours, it seems like, with all due respect, to not want feedback that's constructive but uncomfortable. Are you going to break that cycle today?
I am because I feel like I've gotten to that breaking point now where with that deal now on the line and potentially lost, if we were to go through another cycle of the churn and then trying to manage all that, I'm literally just digging myself a grave. So I need to do something different.
Understood. Makes sense. All right, we could go a little bit deeper into other stuff, but we'll leave it there. There's something very, very powerful that's very tactical, but very discreet that I just did with my tie down question. Can anybody spot what I just did? This will be very advanced if any of you spotted this.
With the last question.
Mm-hmm.
So
Anybody in the chat?
you are getting me to take ownership as to why I'm actually going to do something different that I've never done before and to potentially bring me into the program.
That was true, but there was something more to it. George, what do you mean? Good stuff. Chris, what do you mean? For any of you that didn't spot it, I've basically tied Lee down to you've been ignoring people that have been giving you the feedback you need. You've just taken ownership that that's cost you your business. Basically, I've indirectly got him to lock himself in that if at the end of the call he tries to say something like, I need to think about it, I need to ask my wife, I can leverage that and say, can I be direct with you, Lee? If I give you the feedback that is probably the feedback very similar to what you've been ignoring for the last 2 years, will you ignore it or will you actually change the way you've been ignoring feedback and risking your entire business? No, I'll listen to you. I'm not going to beat around the bush, Lee. You don't need to think about this. You need to pull the trigger right now. And you can ignore my feedback if you want to keep jeopardizing your entire business, but you know that ignoring the feedback you need is the very reason you're in this situation. So now
Wow.
I've created my what you would call objection handling without a word track based on the discovery. I've just tied him into that. He's just admitted he's not going to ignore feedback. So at the end of the call, I can give him feedback and he can't ignore it because he's just committed to himself that he's not going to ignore feedback. Does that make sense, guys? That's what objection handling is supposed to be. You're supposed to get what you need in the discovery. So if it comes up as an objection, you had what you needed. Objection handling isn't, I didn't cover what I needed in the discovery because I'm shit at sales. I just moved on anyway, did my pitch, then got an objection, but I've got some canned cookie cutter word track line to handle the objection. That's not how it works, guys. Real objection handling is I've got you to admit everything you need to admit to yourself to buy, not because I want you to buy, but because I want you to fix the problem. Therefore, at the end of the call, if you forget these things, I can just remind you of them. And you've already committed to these things. It's like the whole time objection is not at the end of the call. Someone says, I don't have the time. And you go through some bullshit about, well, it's not how much time you have. It's how much time you create. And it's about priorities and blah, 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 blah. That's all just bullshit, guys. What the time objection is supposed to be is in the discovery. If they tell you they've got a lot of things going on, you ask them, well, with all the things you've got going on, where does this rank in terms of priorities? Number one. Why number one? Well, because, and they'll give you a fucking explanation. So then at the end of the call, if they say, oh, I don't have the time, all you're doing is taking what they've already told you in the discovery and saying, well, it's interesting because we discussed this in the conversation. And you specifically mentioned this is your number one priority for this reason. So can you be honest with me and be honest with yourself? Why are you now going back to something that we've already discussed? Well, if I'm honest, it's actually the money. That's real objection handling, guys. You covered what you needed in the discovery that they can't use it in the end as an objection. It's what's called a straw man. You just go and it just falls over. It's not memorized lines, guys. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, folks, let's go through. In fact, before we do that, do you want to go backwards, Michael, and finish off what I did pretty quickly? Do you want to go through that yourself? We have time if you want to. It's up to you.
I could. I just need to notice at what point to enter.
Absolutely. So we got to the point where you had asked him what the managers are for, and he said product development,
Yeah.
and that's basically where I jumped in.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right. Go from there.
Okay. So out of those 20 people that you're missing, how much of them are specifically for product development?
Half of them, 10 of them
Half
are
of them.
for
So
product
10 of them.
development, correct? Yeah.
And is there any specific reason or any specific project in the company?
Yeah, we've got a big project that we're trying to finalize at the moment in the product development department. It's a pretty big one.
Okay. When you say pretty big, what do you mean by that?
Just in terms of how much revenue we're going to generate from it, it's in the region of 250K. Once we deliver it.
Okay, 250K. Okay. So that means that because of the fact that you're missing those 10 people in product development, what consequence can this have on the project?
Well, we
Very
have
good.
Yeah.
Pause. Very good, but the phrasing of the question is too telegraphed.
Yeah.
So a very, very detached way of doing that would be something like this. So you've got this very big, in terms of revenue potential, project that you're working on, but you're currently down by 10 people to manage the team of people. So can I ask you, Lee, how's it going?
Yeah, not
How's it
great.
going? It's just such a broad question. So how's it going? Well, it's going terrible. If I say, how's it going? I'm so detached and so leaned out. He's going to tell you the truth. Oh, dude, it's going like shit. Whereas if I'm like, so what's the consequence of that? He's like, oh, well, it's not that bad. Because they want, like, you push and they'll pull. Whereas if you
Yeah.
pull, they'll push towards you. Right. So you gotta understand the art of the dance, so to speak, which
Mhm.
is, I want to know the truth, but I know this is going to be a bit uncomfortable for him. So I'm just going to be like a friend at this point with like, okay, so you're down by 10 people for this very big project, 250K on the line. Given that you're down by not 10 people, given that you're down by 10 managers, how's it going? Well, if I'm like, he would be an absolute narcissistic prick to turn around at that point and try and pretend it's not going bad. Oh, it's not that bad. Like you can't behave like that with someone that's coming to you with the energy of like, I'm genuinely curious. I genuinely care. Whereas if you come at the prospect with the energy of let me wrap you up into a little box, they're like, fuck you. Like, I'm not playing your game. I don't want to play your game. All right. So this is all the energy of the dance. All right, keep going, Michael.
Okay. So Lee, being down by 10 managers on this project, how is it going?
Yeah, but it's not going great. We have a big deadline that we're meant to meet last week.
Okay. So big deadline last week and down 10 managers. What can be the implications of that deadline not being met?
Stay vague. So what's the situation?
Okay.
Because he said like, well, we've got a big deadline, but he didn't exactly tell you what's going
Yeah.
on. We've got a big deadline,
Yeah.
and like that's kind of what your mindset should be, is like, and like tell me more.
Yeah.
Yes, you got to just lean out and be like, keep going, which was
Mm,
good that you sat in silence because a lot of prospects would have just carried on elaborating. But Lee was kind of playing hardball there and being like,
yeah.
I'm not going to tell you the next bit. So you got to
Yeah.
ask for the next bit. Okay. Doing very good, Michael. Keep going.
So Lee, what's the situation?
Yeah, well, we had a deadline to meet last week, 7 days ago. We've not met it. That was for a product we were developing for one of our customers for a number of months, and it's now late. So it's kind of all up in the air. I'm not really sure what's going to happen now, if we're even going to get paid for all the work that we've done.
So you may potentially not be paid for the work, right?
Correct.
Okay. Was there
How
already a
how
down?
how how much? He's
Yeah.
already said 250, but you want him to say it again.
Yeah.
You know it's 250 if it was the whole amount that's going to be refunded.
I
He
wanted to
knows
ask
it's
whether there was
250.
already a down payment to know exactly what's the part that he would miss.
Or that as well. It's just
Yeah.
sometimes you want to get the prospect to repeat the information to
Yeah.
really sink it in.
So losing how much?
That deal was valued at 250K.
Yeah. 250K.
And what happens to that money if, given that you're already over the deadline, it reaches a threshold where that
Mhm.
customer is no longer interested? Oh, well, they're going to
Yep.
want the whole money back. Okay, got it. And can I ask you directly, on a scale of 1 to 10, how close do you think you are to them wanting to ask for it back? Oh, I think it's an 8. Okay. And what is the difference between the 8 and the 10 in regards to, is it you've got another few days, another few weeks? Is it like, what are your recourses as far as that not happening? Oh, honestly, Josh, we don't have any fucking recourses. So if I'm understanding you correctly, Lee, are you saying that unless something drastic changes, that 250,000 is gone? Yes. Okay. So correct me if I'm a bit confused here, Lee, but given that that money is probably already gone, what exactly are you looking to get out of this call and working with us? Well, it's a lot of money. It's 250K. If there was any way that we could recuperate that deal, that client relationship, blah, 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 we want to do everything. Okay. Well, there's a lot of different things you could do. Why specifically do you think this is your number one attempt? Well, and you see how I'm taking what you're saying and leading it to how does this all connect? But the most important thing is I don't know how it connects. So I'm getting the prospect to tell me.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of you as closers, you're like, shit, I can't see how it connects. No shit, guys, because you're not in the prospect's head. The only person that knows how it connects is the prospect. So ask them and they'll tell you. And if they're like, oh, I don't know how it connects, then all you've got to do is put that back on them as a question. So if you don't know how it connects, what do you want me to do? Well, I want you to show me how it connects. Well, I mean, I appreciate you having so much faith in me, Lee, but what do you think happens if I'm the one that shows you how it connects and you haven't come up with that yourself? Well, I probably wouldn't act on it 100%. So what do you want to do? Do you want to go away for 24 hours and come back to me once you've figured it out? Or do you want to tell me on this call what you think? And I'm not going to play the game of trying to sell you. You sell me, Mr. Prospect, or we're getting off the call. Because anytime you try and sell someone, guys, they don't want to give you money, even if they have a burning problem, because there's two things to get money out of someone. I am in a shit situation and I figured out how to get out of it. Even if someone's in a dire straight situation, they want the pride of being the person that fixed their situation. It's why, like, if you've ever seen like, older people that can't walk and they're all like hobbling and you go up to them, hey, do you want a hand? They're like, no, 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 I'm fine. Well, you're about to fall down the stairs. I'll fall down the stairs then. It's like people are crazy, guys, because their ego is bigger than the pain of their current situation. If you tried to prioritize those things hierarchically, someone's burning problem is very far below their ego. Their ego is way higher than the shitness of their situation. It's like they would rather fall down the stairs, but at least they chose to fall down the stairs, than have you, some 20-year-old young buck, try and help them down the stairs. And that if you become a student of observating life, you'll see these things. You'll learn sales just through observation. You're like, that guy's like trying to cross the road and he's about to fall over. I went to ask him if he wants a hand and he said no. That's weird. It's not weird, guys. It's the human condition. And when you stop, and I said this before on the call, when you stop trying to see what you want to see and you see things for what they really are, you learn human behavior. And what you really see, there's a great book. Don't read it, guys. You don't need to read it. But the concept of the book's great. It's called Predictably Irrational. And like, as far as human psychology, the only thing predictable about human psychology is people do stupid things that are not rational. That's the only thing logical about human behavior. They do things you're like, why the fuck are you doing that? That makes no fucking sense. But instead of trying to fight it, learn it. Become the puppet master that knows, I know if this person's in a burning problem, but they don't come up with the solution themselves, they're not going to fix their burning problem. And when you learn these things, you can master humans and you can master sales. You can master making money. Okay. All right, Michael, keep going.
Okay. So there is this 250K project with the deadline, which is already over. What is the probability that you might lose that client or lose that money from
Yeah,
zero
it's a
to
good question.
yeah.
Yeah, it's probably on the higher end. I've never been in this position before. So there's a lot of risk right now that we might actually lose that deal and then not get paid for. So the way we work is they give us a little bit upfront, but then once we actually get the product over the line and hand it to them on the due date, then we get the majority of the revenue. So the probability of us not getting this deal over the line is, as I said, I've never been in this position, but 60, 70%.
60, 70%. And you said this is a big project, right?
Correct. We usually try to aim for 3 or 4 days a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big chunk of our revenue in the business.
What do you mean by a big chunk? How much
It's
is
a
it?
it's well, if you were to add up all of those deals across the year, it's well over 50% of our annual revenue.
Okay, so there's 60% chances you lose 50% of your annual revenue.
Well, if this was to keep happening, but there's a 60% chance that we lose the previous deal of 250K
Yeah,
if they don't give us a serious amount of leeway to get it over the line at some point in the future.
okay. And
What do
if
you
this is
what do you think is the likelihood that they give you that leeway? And if I caveat the question, Lee, would you give yourself that leeway if you were the customer?
I would like to say yes, but from a business perspective, deals are deals. And
Is the customer a business?
it is. Yeah. And so,
So
you
given
know,
that you so given that you wouldn't do that to yourself if you were in their position, what do you think the likelihood is that they give it to you?
Yeah, very low.
Can I ask you a slightly confrontational question?
Sure.
Why would you not give the company that was your supplier that leeway? Why would you not do it?
I like working with companies, individuals that keep their word and they have a level of professionalism about them.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but does that make you the person that doesn't have that level of professionalism and doesn't keep your word to your customers?
Correct. For the first time now in 8 years in business, yes, that's correct.
How does that make you feel?
Very annoyed and frustrated.
What are you going to do about it?
Well, that's why I'm on the call. Something has to change. I don't want to be in a position again where I have another deal that doesn't meet the deadline, and we have several of them before the year is out. So, the clock is ticking.
Okay, let's pause. Did anybody see it? Because that's the second time I've done it on this call. What did I just do? I'll do it a third time if you need me to see. Well done, Yuri. Same thing again. You just told me that you're going to be the person that keeps your word and acts professionally. You want to give me a fucking objection at the end of the call? Lee, my objection handling at the end of the call, if you said I need to ask my wife, I would say, is that professional and the type of guy that's keeping their word to themselves and their customers? So, Lee, I don't need to objection handle you. I'm just going to ask you directly, are you going to be the guy that breaks your word and acts unprofessionally? No, why not? So what would you do if you're professional and you keep your word? I would buy right now. So what do you choose? Do you want to be professional and keep your word, or do you want to be unprofessional and not keep your word? Which type of guy do you want to be? This is how you handle objections, guys. You create the answers to the objections if you need them. Now, what's also interesting, and this is going into the 4D guys, who's ever heard the phrase that one of the number one ways to avoid getting into a fight or being someone that gets into fights is to be the guy that looks like, don't mess with me. Now, that's very visual, meaning if you're 6'4", or even if you can't change your height, if you've gone to the gym and you dress well and you've got a strong walk and you've got strong posture, most likely you'll reduce a massive amount of the people that try starting on you. That's visual. You can see it. There's a layer beyond that, which is what can't be seen. And so the reason I bring this up in this context is there is something going on in the 4D, which is if I already know how I would checkmate you in the objection handling, the probability that you're going to bring up the objection goes to pretty much zero. Even though you don't know that I already knew how to checkmate you, it's just energetic. It's like it's beyond what's visible in reality. Whereas if you don't know how you're going to handle someone's objection, energetically you transmit a frequency that's, I don't know what I'm fucking doing. I'm lost here. And then they give you an objection. The best way to not get objections is to know that you've already handled it anyway, and then it just won't come up. The best way to not get into fights is to be like, well, like you want to try starting a fight on me, you'll just end up knocked out unconscious. So then people don't try. And this is how you play a completely different game where if you know that you would just handle the objection so easily without being fazed by it, completely detached, not trying to use any word tracks, they don't give you the objection. Does this make sense, guys? Okay. All right, Michael, you can keep going if you want.
Okay. So, Lee, there is 60% risk that you would lose 50% of the company revenue, right?
Correct.
Okay. And if you would be the client who was waiting for this project and the deadline was not met, how would you react and what would you do?
I
Yeah,
love that you changed it in real time to an open-ended question. Well spotted. Very, very well done, Michael.
yeah, good question. I suppose if I was in their shoes, knowing the standards I uphold in business, I would very likely not allow them some leeway, and I
Mm,
would cancel the contract and I would not pay them.
yeah. And what would you think or how would you consider that company?
Well, I feel like people make mistakes, but again, I have high standards and I would see them as unprofessional. I probably wouldn't work with them again.
The reason Lee, and that was very accurate to a real prospect, opened his response with, well, people make mistakes. Why was that, Michael? Why did Lee justify before he gave you a more honest answer? Do you know why?
Rationalization?
No.
No?
It's because you pushed too hard.
Okay.
You asked a question that challenged him. And
Yeah.
then you were like, I'm gonna go even further. And
Yeah.
then Lee's like, fuck you, man. Like you're getting carried away with the power.
Yeah.
Don't get carried away with the power because then the prospects are like, yeah, now you're not doing it out of care and curiosity. You're trying to play with me.
Yeah.
So what Lee did was very accurate. If you said, and if you were in that position where your supplier let you down, what would you do? Well, I would probably cancel the contract and want the money back. He was very honest with you. He was very humble to give that response. You
Yeah.
then were like, I can't remember the question, but you then went for it again. And it's like, it's too much. And you're going to unwind all of the great stuff that you're doing. Does that make
Mm.
sense? So you got to feel, am I asking this challenging question to care about the person, even though doing that is by challenging them? Or am I now trying to box them and like tie them up into a little bow and, hang them from the fucking top of the church and making a scene of them? Don't try and make a scene of your prospects, guys, because
Yeah.
people don't like that.
Mm.
So that's why he did that. And that's very accurate what you did, Lee. That would be exactly. In fact, Prospect probably wouldn't have caveated it and then given a good response. They would have now been like, well, I guess to be honest, Michael, people do make mistakes. And he's now going to back off from trying to agree with you. He'll just go the opposite direction. He's
Yeah.
just been humble. He's just been admitting, yeah, it's my fault. And frankly, I would do the same. And then you push, and then now he feels threatened. He's going to then give you some massive justification, rationalization of like, well, actually, I guess, people do make mistakes. It's not that bad. And, people should give people second chances. And he's going to go off and give you some fucking philosophy on why it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Would it have been a good point right after the first question to go like, and now as the CEO of the company, how does that make you feel?
In that context, based on his response and the question, I don't think you need to go any further in
Okay.
trying to put him into pain.
Okay.
We got him into pain. He was like, yeah, to be honest, I would want the money back and I would cancel the contract. The next thing you want to do is probably shift more into logic. Okay, cool. So, well, not cool, but okay, got it. So, what are you going to do?
Mm.
And we're now caring and being concerning based on, well, if it's that bad, let's see if we can figure it out.
Yeah.
You're continuing to lead and to help the
Yeah.
prospect.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Great questions, Michael. Keep going.
Okay, so Lee, now with all this, what are you gonna do?
Well, I want to do something. That's why I'm on the call. Something has to change. I don't want to put myself in a position where I have to experience this risk and loss of revenue again and again. So it's been a problem for 2 years. The turning point was potentially 70% of a chance of losing this deal. So I want to do something about it.
So what has to change according to you?
Well, I need to change my communication if I'm being very honest. I feel like that is one of the things that has stood out in terms of what I can put my pulse on as to why me as the CEO, we are in this position as a company right now, is my communication style with the leadership team. I feel like that has resulted in the high churn rate and yeah, us losing all this money.
Okay, very communication.
And
So
why do you feel like that's the thing that's been causing this HR problem that's put your business on the line?
Well, there's been some feedback in the corridors through the grapevine that my communication style can be somewhat short fused and
Okay.
very direct and not understanding or compassionate enough. And it's
And, and
leading
over
to,
and over what time period has that feedback been there?
say, the last 6 months.
And have you implemented any of that feedback over the last 6 months?
To be honest, I didn't really take it well the first time. I kind of wanted to ignore it, but I can't really identify anything else as to why we're in this position right now, apart from my communication style and even some of the employees and the leadership team who have left the company. They have communicated with other people that still work in the company that it was down to my communication. So
So if I'm understanding, correct me and do correct me if I'm wrong. Your business is on the line. I'll get the numbers here wrong, guys, but because we've been jumping in and out of different role plays. 70% likelihood that you lose this deal, which is 50% of your entire company that you've been building for the last 15 years. And if I'm understanding this correctly, the reason for that is that the cause of this has been your communication. But the real cause has been that you've been ignoring feedback on your issues in your communication. And so, if I can be blunt with you, Lee, your business is on the line because of your own ignorance. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's not easy to hear, but it's accurate.
Given that it's not easy to hear, would you like to get off this call and not have to hear it and not have to face it?
No, I want to do something about it so I can improve and fix the situation so I'm not ever in this position again.
And if I hold you accountable to facing your own ignorance through sharing with you what we've got going on over here and potentially also challenging you about some specifics that you need to improve in your communication, that will continue to be rather uncomfortable. Are you going to get off the call and just not face it?
No, it's definitely more uncomfortable watching 250,000 be flushed down the toilet.
Why?
That's a lot of money. A big chunk of the profits that we make in the company goes to my retirement fund. So the less money that we bring in, the longer and longer the date gets for me to essentially be able to retire. So that's why I want to, do something about this ASAP.
Makes sense. I mean, your retirement could be a little while away. Is there any particular reason that that is a pressing thing right now? Because you could just retire 2 years later than your expected date. I mean, why is that a big deal?
It would definitely be a lot shorter if we lost more of these deals. And then the revenue is just not growing as well. Like, given the fact that we have now lost 250,000, that's going to have a significant impact on the forecast of our revenue and profit margins this year. And as I said earlier, there are still multiple deals that have to get over the line before end of year. So they are also at risk on the table if I don't solve my own communication style so we can actually create some more consistency with the leadership team actually staying in the company rather than me going through this cycle every 3 to 6 months.
Can I challenge you just slightly on what you said?
Sure.
You said, if I don't change my communication style, that's a repercussion, certainly, that you need to fix. But what it is that you need to change is your ignorance over your own leaks, specifically in this case, your communication style. Is that a fair clarification?
Yeah, I suppose when you put it like that, it's 100% correct.
Okay. How many more days do you want to be showing up with a level of ignorance, knowing that you could have solved this 6 months ago? Maybe you had comments before that. And now your business is on the line, your retirement is on the line, your growth of the business is on the line. How many more days are you willing to be ignorant to the feedback that is difficult to hear, but what you need to hear?
Not one more day. I'm
Okay.
I'm ready to make a change now.
Okay. Well, if you'd like, I can take you through all of the specific ways that we get in front of that ignorance, show you what you're doing wrong in your communication, which I'll be honest again, will be uncomfortable. It's going to be, face against the mirror, so to speak, feet against the fire, and walk you through A through to Z how we help business owners like yourself with their ignorance of their communication and show them specifically the tools and the techniques and the mechanisms to be better at communicating so that for you personally, you can continue with your hiring, but actually have success in getting the managers that you need, keeping the managers you need, so that your current product development gets solved, future product development gets solved. And I'm sure you'll have other positions that you need to hire beyond that, which then you'll also be able to be successful in because you're able to communicate in a way that is effective. Now, what's also somewhat interesting is, sure, the tangible is going to be your communication skills, absolutely. But have you ever considered, I guess more spiritually, that if you just simply were a guy that was not ignorant or opposed to people's feedback, that universally that might shift a lot of things for you in life and in your business? Just simply not being that guy that's putting out that frequency of fuck off, leave me alone, I don't want you to give me feedback. Have you ever considered that as well?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because the leadership team don't want my feedback. And at the same time, I also don't want feedback. So I guess you're 100% accurate in what you've expressed.
Are you ready to fix that?
I am.
Okay, cool. And take them through the program. Done. Yep. As it says in the chat, guys, universal conversations, because the human condition is the human condition. It's not an issue with his hiring managers. It's not even an issue with his communication. It's why does he have a communication issue? Because he was ignorant to feedback. Stuck in his own ways, thought his success was something he could rest on his laurels, doesn't need to hear from anybody else, the peasants in the company that he's like, yeah, what do they know? That's the human condition, guys. You've always got to go through the layers, the consequence, which is the burning problem, the logistics of why they have that, and then solve the person. Because the person is what's causing the logistical issue, which is causing the burning problem as far as the consequence. Go all the way back to the person. People feel very, very uncomfortable to not buy from you, and in a good way, if you've just done what we were doing with Lee. They're like, fuck me, like this person is having a conversation with me that's more real, more raw, and more honest than any conversation I've had in my entire life. They feel almost an obligation energetically to return the favor that you're truly showing up from an energetic frequency of leadership. Okay. That was an amazing session for you, Michael, in terms of your ability to listen to the feedback, execute the feedback. You've come so far considering you're fairly new to the mastermind. That was very, very good. So well done.
Thank you,
Very,
Josh.
very good. Very welcome. All right, guys, let's jump into feedback or Q&A if anybody has feedback or Q&A. So we've got Don. Let me bring up Don. And then at the end, I'll do Michael and Lee. So Don doesn't have his hand up, but I saw that he put in the chat. We've got Emil, Chris, Jeremy, Daniel G as well. So I'll pull you guys up one at a time. All right, Don, what have you got, brother?
Hello, hello. Thought Michael did a great job, like you said, taking feedback, implementing it as quickly as possible, putting himself out there and just being uncomfortable. And great job, Michael. Josh, I have a question. So it seemed like early in the role play, we figured out that the burning problem was his communication. Yet, at the end, most of your closing and stuff like that was really seemed like you were tying it back to the hiring problem as opposed to his lack of communication. Was there a reason for that?
Yeah, great question. The ends of the spectrum are the most important things. The thing in the middle is the least important. The thing in the middle is the mechanism or the vehicle. The thing that's most important is the consequence of them not being where they want to be, their burning problem, and the root cause of the burning problem. It's almost like the thing in the middle could kind of be bypassed or have multiple different ways of doing it. Let me give you a simple example. If we switch the offer to finance, if you wanted to make money, the two things that are going to matter on the sales call, and I've said this in role plays in the past and training in the past, is why do they want the money? What's the burning problem they have for not having the money? And what is the personal issue as far as their mindset, their habits, their way of showing up as to why they don't have the money? Whether they get the money with a crypto course, e-com, a 9 to 5, building a business, that shit doesn't fucking matter. You have to go through it to kind of connect the dots. But I've said on a role play before, the way I sell, and feel free to disagree with me, guys. If you want to disagree, go for it. Put in the chat if you disagree. The way I sell, I would get the burning problem that someone doesn't have the money they want. And I would get the reason as far as the way they're showing up as to why they don't have it. And if I was selling a cryptocurrency mastermind, so cryptocurrency is the vehicle, and for whatever random reason, at the end of the call, I just decided to say this, what do you think would happen? Don, I know now why you really want the money and the burning problems you have for not having the money. And I know the reason that you're in that situation is you haven't been committed enough to do the work to actually build a source of income. Can I be honest with you? I actually don't think you should do cryptocurrency. I think for you personally, you should build an e-com store. You would just fucking listen to what I say and you'll just not buy the crypto thing and go and buy a fucking e-com thing. Meaning the vehicle in the middle is not what matters. I could literally shift you on the sales call to go and buy something completely different. Because what matters is what's the burning things that you're losing out on in life because you don't have it? And have I connected it to why you haven't been showing up the right way to get it? And so that's why we go through the things in the middle to connect it all together. But really, the culmination of everything is, here's why you're suffering and you want this thing. And here's the root cause why you don't have it. Which of these 15 tangential different vehicles you do really doesn't matter. And the crazy thing is, if you compare the two different positions, Don, position one is the salesperson cares about the outer and the inner, the two extremes. Position number two is the salesperson cares about the vehicle. If a salesperson is so obsessed with their product, their service, their vehicle, that unsells the customer. When you actually are completely detached from your vehicle and you're attached to what they want and solving the person, they actually want your vehicle more. Does that make sense? If you're trying to push your vehicle, do crypto, do crypto, do crypto, crypto's the best thing ever, crypto, they're like, actually, I don't want to do crypto. Whereas if you basically just detach from the vehicle in the conversation, you could just tell them what to fucking buy. Buy crypto. Okay, cool. Buy ecom. Okay, cool. I'll buy ecom. Go build a business. Okay, I'll go build a business. They'll just do whatever you say. Because real persuasion is, you're never selling the product or service. You're selling the dream, which is the reciprocal of not having the dream, because you don't sell the hypothetical future. You sell, you don't currently have these things that you want. And you sell and you solve a new identity of the person. You never sell the thing in the middle. And anytime you see salespeople that are trying to follow their flow of questions to get them to say they want crypto or why they want crypto, you just unsell the prospect. Does that make sense?
It does. Can I ask for some clarification though? Because at the end, I felt like you took the money and him losing the company and all of that and contrasted it or had the root cause of him neglecting the feedback. So I felt like you tied the root cause to the real problem or to the real problem. But before, when you closed before, which you look like you had totally closed him, it was that the problem of the money and the company being bad, but you were kind of tying it back to the problem with the hiring. You weren't tying it to, you didn't get to his root cause until at the very end. But previously, when that closing round, you stopped at just the problem with the hiring. And that's what I was wondering about.
And that's why I didn't stop there.
Oh, okay.
That the point that you're like, I thought you'd already closed him.
Well,
yeah. if I thought I'd already closed him, I would have stopped there.
Gotcha.
I'm going through the layers and you're like, well, that's enough. And I'm like, no, it's not enough because we need to go way deeper into all of that. So you answered your own question.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. Who have we got next? Let's go with Emil. All right, brother. What have you got?
I've got two takeaways for me and one question. The first takeaway is that it's really amazing that we can have these universal conversations. It's just amazing what we learn here and the person we can be for the other person that's on the phone. And we could really see that in this role play. So that was the first takeaway. And the second takeaway is the balance from you with the total detachment, literally saying you can go off the call now, you can go off the call like 2 or 3 times, but also really wanting to help. That's a really nice balance how that was in this call.
Because they're the same thing.
Exactly.
Really wanting to help someone is being really detached from making them do anything. The opposite is where you're like in the middle, which is I don't really care about someone doing something, so therefore I'm going to try and manipulate them and force them. It's like, that's just all the wrong energy. The right energy is I really want this for you, but equally I don't care.
Yep.
That's real caring about people.
Yep.
Because the most caring thing you can do is want someone to be the best version of themselves, but not try and take their hero's journey away from them. It's their journey. I want you all to reach your full potential, but you're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to go on your hero's journey or you're not. The worst thing I could do would be wanting it more than you want it for yourself, trying to push you to do it more than you're trying to push yourself to do it. What's your question?
My question is around the end part of the call. You said that Michael was just a little bit of boxing him into a thing because Lee was actually really humble and said what his problem was. But what is the balance between not gambling with your commissions and boxing them in? What's the balance between that?
Yeah, you read the energy of the prospect. You're gambling with your commissions when you can feel energetically the prospect's not that bothered. They're not that bought in. Whereas if you can feel that they're really humble, they're really concerned, they're really upset about their situation, boxing them in is trying to now make them hurt, like make them uncomfortable with that. It's like your job is not to embarrass them. Your job is to teach them a lesson by showing them the pain of their situation. But then that's it. You've taught them the lesson. They do something about it or they don't. Your job isn't to like, fucking waterboard them. Right?
All right.
Great
So
question.
if they're not
So
bought in,
watch the
you
energy.
yeah, exactly. Okay.
If the
That's
prospect's
it.
not being humble, not admitting the problem, not facing reality, not facing the mirror, you ethically have a duty to keep trying to show them the mirror. But if and this is why I think UM's taught this quite a lot, which is, and I've said it about these role plays. These role plays are like 10 times harder than I've ever had to close in my life, guys. Like this is not how I would close on a real call in terms of the details that we're going into. Number one, it's because we're cutting the role play. And so we're jumping back in, jumping back out. But number two, it's because, not that I've got an issue with this, but often as students, you want to see how advanced can it get? It's like, well, that's fine. You're better to be more trained than you need to be on a real call. But on a real call, this would have been super simple. I wouldn't need to go into all these details. Okay. So don't like overthink, do I have to do this? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do this? It's like, just have a real conversation with someone. What's the problem? What's causing that problem? Why are you allowing that problem to happen? Are you committed to fixing it? It's like very, very simple basics. Okay. All right. Let's see who we've got next. We have Chris.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure, Emil. Chris, Daniel G, Jesus, and then we'll do Lee and Michael, and then we'll wrap up, guys. All right.
Michael, it's awesome watching you take it real time and upgrading in real time, and how much you love the feedback. Like you genuinely love it, and I'm excited to get on here next week. Two takeaways. It's a big shift for me. Solve the person, and energetically, they want to return the favor to you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And also seeing you train Lee on how to be a better client too as well, using his own language. That was huge. Then the other thing, keep them in the current cost or current pain. Otherwise, they disassociate from the pain.
Yeah. Don't make
That's
it
another
hypothetical
huge
future.
Yeah. And I think Emil may have touched on the difference between mirroring and boxing them in. Is boxing them in, that's more you want to push the vehicle, and then mirroring is more you want to solve the problem. Like, what's the main difference between those two, energetically and tactically?
Imagine if you're a parent and your child is being very naughty. They keep doing something they shouldn't be doing. And you shout at them, you punish them, whatever your mode of trying to teach them a lesson is. And version one, the child is just like completely ignoring the training that you're trying to teach them to show up better. Well, you're just going to have to keep punishing them, keep them sat on the step, keep them away from their toys, whatever it is that you're doing to try and keep showing them the lesson. You're doing that for their own benefit. You're not letting them off the hook because they haven't got the lesson. Version two is the child's been naughty and the parent tells off the child and the child says, I'm so sorry. Yes, and they're crying and they're upset and it's genuine. And the parent just keeps punishing them. It's like, well, now you're just being a bully. So it's very simple if we take it out of a sales context. It's like if the prospects, obviously your prospect's not going to cry like a baby. Most of the time they won't. But if Lee's sat there on the call being like, yeah, I'm an idiot for not taking the feedback and just being ignorant to it. And, I've been given the feedback. I've just not been listening. That's the child metaphorically that's saying, I'm sorry. Like I've done the wrong thing. It's my fault. I accept that. I take ownership. If they've taken ownership, you don't have to try and keep getting them to take ownership. Now you're just getting, they call it hungry with power. Like you're just a dictator now. And what happens to dictators? They create revolts. That's history. You can be a dictator for a while, but at some point there's going to be an uprising. The only difference is that happens over hundreds of years. On a sales call, it will happen in 1 minute. You go from being a leader that's trying to guide your people into a certain way, even if there's things they don't agree with and they don't like. You're doing it because you genuinely are trying to advance the civilization. And like most leaders, they do that for a while and then they get hungry with the power and they push too far. And now they're trying to dictate. And what happens? You create a revolution.
Mm.
Like,
It
again, I
makes
said,
yeah.
one sec. I
Yes.
said this before on the call, guys. You can learn a lot about sales by learning and observing a lot about life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you just read history, not saying that you have to do that, but if you wanted to read history, you would be like, huh, interesting. There are people that are leaders that then go too far and become dictators, and then that turns into a revolution. Wonder if I just did the same thing on my sales call, what would happen? Probably the same thing, because the only difference is you're taking a population, a civilization, and just individualizing one person. The individual person is just the conglomerate of the civilization. There's no difference. If a whole population of people don't like being dictated to and they create a revolution, that's just the general thought of each individual person. They're just the same. It's just you've got tens of thousands of them. So if you're on a call with one individual person and they start feeling like you're getting hungry with the power, they'll revolt. Make sense?
Perfect sense. I was just about to say it's all universal conversations, and if we just throw out the fucking sales and just look at life, it is so simple.
So why I've always said the worst thing you can possibly do to learn sales is read books on sales. You'll learn fucking nothing about sales. In general, you shouldn't be reading books to try and learn sales. You should be doing real calls and real training. But if you're going to read books on spirituality, enlightenment, history, philosophy, and you'll learn about sales, because those things are the human condition. The human condition is, what have people done over history? Well, that's the human condition. The human condition is, how does philosophy work? Because philosophy is just, what are the rules to have a good life and what are the rules to have a bad life? Well, that's just rules that people have made up based on life experience, the human condition. Spirituality, what is someone that's hyper self-actualized versus someone that's got very low consciousness? That's the same as what you'll see on your sales calls. These are the real patterns, as opposed to, what questions, what tonality, and what order, and what's the framework for a sales call. Doesn't fit into human condition. So, all right. Do you have anything else, Chris?
That's awesome. I'm gonna rewatch this.
All right. Let's go with Daniel G.
Hello, team.
What's up?
All good here. A little bit of call today. So I had two takeaways. One of them has already been taught about with this analogy with the parent and the kid. It's enough when they truly you cannot only hear them being sorry, but also see them in their energy.
Yeah.
That's enough, right? If you push it too far, you had a bad parent yourself, obviously.
Exactly.
Then,
very true.
Yeah. And then the second takeaway that I have is on objection handling, because I kind of wrote this down. The best objection handling that you can have is not a word track, it's a reminder. Because
100%.
if you go through the call gathering data and pieces of information where you did touch on financials, on reasons, on commitment, on why now and why not another day, and you truly connect by the end of I came to this conclusion by the end of the training when you said that the vehicle is not important. What it's important is the two sides, the two opposite sides of what's going on and who are you that got you there. If you really get to that, they already gave you how not to be at the end of the call. And all objections that I can think of, it's always fear, procrastination, not making a decision. And all that is not the person, but because that is exactly the person that got them where they are right now. So when they actually said, yes, this can solve it, I would go every time. Yeah, well, this is the vehicle, but you have to be their person too.
Yeah.
So what person?
All of those objections, all of the normal objections come up when you as the salesperson are focused on selling your vehicle. Because those objections are just simply, you're trying to sell me, so I'm going to try and find a way to not be sold. I need to ask my wife. It's a lot of money. I need to think about it. I'm afraid, blah, blah, blah. Whereas when you sell, number one, how badly do they want this thing? Well, if they want it bad enough, they're not going to give you objections. Number two, Are they willing to admit that they're the reason they're in this situation? If they're willing to, if both of those things align, there is no objection.
And if there is, you just remind them exactly. So that was
Which
my biggest takeaway to it.
Semantically, we could argue, is that an objection then? It's just like, again, human condition. Oh, it's a lot of money. Okay.
Yeah, it's pattern.
And so many times I would just sit there in silence and they're like, yeah, but I need to do it anyway. Okay, cool. That's not an objection. An objection is where you're going around and around and around and around in a fucking circle with someone. And the reason you're going around in a circle is because you started that circle around trying to sell your product or your vehicle. The number one thing you learn if you want to learn marketing, again, not saying you need to learn marketing. Everyone's going to go and learn marketing now. But if you wanted to learn marketing, the very first thing that they teach you in marketing that's actually correct is nobody gives a fuck about your product. They do not care about your product or service. They care about what is their personal burning problem and what is the identity or hero's journey that they need to go on to get the thing. Like when I was selling dating, nobody cared that we figured out how to master dating apps. They don't care if it was day game, night game, dating apps, whatever. They don't care. They just want to get laid and they want to be loved. And like, that's it. Like, they don't care how, within reason, as in like which vehicle or mechanism you're going to teach them to get the end result. And the more you try and say, oh, we figured out dating apps, we did this, we've mastered this, we had 10,000, pieces of data and we've done, they're like, yeah, whatever. I just want to have a girlfriend. And that's what you learn in marketing is don't talk about the vehicle. Talk about the experience the person's going through and then connect it back to, hey, let me be honest with you. Let me be a leader and admit that you're probably in this situation because you're not showing up in the way that you need to show up. And if they're willing to admit that, then you've got a sale. All right. Do you have anything else, Daniel?
No, that was it. Thank you.
All right. It's a pleasure. All right. Let's go with Lee and then we'll finish with Michael. Did you have any
Awesome.
takeaways, Lee?
Yeah, I have a few here. Michael, great work. That was sensational, my man. First, number one was the communication flexibility. So how you contextualize your questions at an even higher level to be calibrated based upon the individual you're speaking to, said CEO. It was so much more conversational. So that was a big light bulb moment. Another one was the nuances around closed questions. So I can't remember what the exact example was, but I put it in the chat. You asked Michael something which was a closed question in a very powerful way, as opposed to open-ended question. So it just shows the nuances based upon obviously the conversation that you're having.
Yeah.
Cadence, when you were taking me through the how much longer question, how you were contextualizing and repeating back the story and the glass half empty, the cadence was so calm and slow that I even like felt that. And it felt like genuine as opposed to, oh, here's the typical how much longer question, which sometimes feels that way from my side, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Another takeaway was the counter force. So when Michael pressed too hard and I said, well, everyone deserves a second chance, that was a counter force of energy because it was like, oh, I feel like I'm being pressed a little bit too hard here. And I wasn't even genuinely, I wasn't planning on saying that. That was just instinctively because I was just so in tune with playing the prospect. That just like literally came out. I wasn't planning on saying that. So right. Yeah, that was very interesting because I can think back to certain calls in the past, like I'm sure we all can, where you press a little bit too hard and then they rationalize and you're like, why did I say that? So it was very powerful for me to actually feel that for the first time. Second last one was the ownership. So you really dug me in to take a lot of ownership around how I have been ignorant and also the mirror of how my leadership team don't take my feedback, but at the same time, I'm not leading them or myself because I'm also not taking the feedback. So right. I'm telling them to do something I'm not doing essentially. And then the last point was just the open-ended questions, because playing the prospect, I was like, I want to get to this point, like I'm being easy with you, but because the questions weren't more open-ended, I was like, it's going to be product development. Like it's like a couple of questions away. But because Michael was trying to box me in, or there were two closed questions, it was like I was feeling as a prospect, right? When are we going to get to the thing that I want to talk about? And it just justifies your point that you always talk about. If you ask open-ended questions, you just try less, just get them to do the work. I'm like, here, balls in my court, I'll do the work. We'll get there, and we'll get there a lot faster. So yeah, they were very powerful takeaways.
All amazing. The first thing I want you all to notice, guys, is the quality of Lee's note taking. Like, you should all have had a list of like, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this. Just like we've all complimented Michael, we should all be complimenting Lee as well, not only for being a great prospect, but learning whilst being the prospect, versus some of you are on the call going, oh yeah, that was fun, that was entertaining. It's not supposed to be entertaining, guys. I know it's super entertaining and I can't help it. I'm just such an entertainer. But it's supposed to be about learning and getting better at sales and making more money. And the quality of your learning will be, number one, the quality of you showing up to role play like Michael, taking the feedback, implementing the feedback, not being afraid to step in the arena, and the quality of you being a good student in the position of Lee, as far as looking at everything that we're training on and all the different things and the advanced nuances that you're getting the chance to learn. So Lee, well done for you as well. Amazing stuff. That final one was massive as well, which is the open-ended stuff. If you try and take each question step by step by step, you can sometimes find that it takes longer because you think you knew the route that you were going to take. Whereas if you just ask the open-ended question, the prospect will take you exactly where you need to go digging. Well, how's it going? Oh, it's going terrible. Okay, why? And then now they're just going to start telling you the whole story because you said, how's it going? As opposed to a more narrow or closed-ended question. And then you're like, you're going down this road because that's where your question's going. You're like, should I have gone off this way a little bit? Or maybe I should go backwards and go off that way. And then now you're having like two different lines of conversations to try and find what was important. Whereas if you just have an open-ended conversation, prospects will tell you. All right, final feedback, or if you've got questions as well, from Michael. Again, Michael, great stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I have two takeaways, but first, big thanks, because really there's no possible comparison between watching the videos and being here and doing it. So really big thanks. Thank you to Lee also. The first takeaway I have is I really saw what you were doing as building Lego pieces, not going too fast. If you start to build too fast, it collapses. And same thing,
100%.
sometimes you need to take a step back, like with how's it going? This for me is taking a step back and looking at the whole construction. And the second feedback for me is each time you took the lead, it was just like in those books. I don't know if you already, if you also have them in the UK or US, books where you are the hero. And you choose, you make a decision at any point, and each time there is a different ending.
Yeah.
And I loved that because each time you took the lead, it was really a manifestation and an explanation of what scriptless means. Because each time you could go into another direction, but each time you would get to the same ending. And I loved that. It was, yeah, I really saw that book with all those multiple choices, and it was amazing. So really, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Yeah, I read a few of those books, and my biggest curiosity when I was younger is like, how the fuck did they write these books where like you're going through and it's like option one, option two, option three, and you click it and it says, or not click it, you read it and it says turn to another page. And as you said, the book always has a finish, and you're like, how did they connect all that together? But I guess the best metaphor for it is scriptless selling. Whatever path you take, which goes back to what I said, that the vehicle in the middle, the little choices along the way don't really matter. It's the beginning and the end. And the beginning and the end were always the same, but you would go on your little adventure hero's journey. So great metaphor. I love that. Amazing. All right, guys, that is us for today. I'll see you all inside school. I'll see you Wednesday. Once again, well done for everyone who's on the call, and especially for Lee and especially for Michael. As Michael said, no possible comparison watching the videos versus being here. And there's also no possible comparison to just watching versus studying, which is what Lee was doing. All right, folks, I'll see you all soon. Later. Bye. All right, let's start with the big takeaway. The biggest takeaway is the power of being a great student. Not only, if I can say so, speaking for Michael and speaking for Lee, is it hella fun. And what else are you going to fucking do in your life apart from go on your own adventure to realize your full potential and be the best version of yourself? There's no possible comparison being a spectator of a sport versus the glory, the fun, the adventure, the ups and the downs of playing the game. And a lot of you as salespeople, you're not playing the game. You're just taking your sales calls, clocking in and clocking out. You might be clocking in and doing a bit of training, a bit of role plays and clocking out. But you're not living the game. You're not going through the blood, sweat, the tears, the mud, and the triumph. And that's the biggest takeaway for me as to why I love selling and why I still love sales 5 years later, is because it was just a vehicle. It still is just a vehicle for me to go on my hero's journey and reach my full potential. If you align with that message, if you're like, yeah, sales is the thing I'm doing right now, but it's part of a bigger mission for you, the place that you need to be is inside the Unicorn Closer Mastermind. Because the people inside the Unicorn Closer Mastermind, the guys and the girls, they're on a mission. We call it rocket ship vibes, where you can just see, you can feel it with Lee, you can feel it with Michael. They're going places in life, and right now the chapter that they're living, the chapter that they're on, is mastering high-ticket sales. But mastering high-ticket sales, not to just be a salesperson and have a fucking 9-to-5 remote closing job, but to master sales because they want to master themselves, they want to live an adventure, they want to understand people, they want to have an impact on the world. You hear all of that and you should see it's bigger. It's about much more than sales. That is the Unicorn Closer Mastermind in a nutshell. So if you resonate with that, and I'll be honest and direct, if you don't want to be around the other type of people, the normal folk that view high-ticket sales as just a remote closing gig, like if I'm sharing this probably for the first time ever, I don't want to be around normal people. I don't like normal people. I like people that have a much deeper character. There's just more about them. There's just more density in who they are. And when I go, and if I, for whatever reason, happen to be around the normal folk, I just don't connect with them. I'm like, you're just, your level of consciousness, your level of character is just basic. You're a basic person. And if you hear me say that and you're like, yeah, fuck me, I thought I was the only one. You're not the only one. There's an entire group and mastermind of people like me and like you, if you're resonating with this, that don't like to be around normal people. They like to go deep into things, master, study, and really, really, really realize their full, true self-actualization. So if you resonate with that, click the link right now and just join the Unicorn Closer Mastermind, and we will all see you on the inside. Now let's get into the tactical takeaways. The nuances of how you ask questions. You can't just be learning the same way to say your different questions, because how you deliver the questions is different based on who you're talking to. CEOs, poorer people, richer people, higher consciousness people, like I'm talking about already, lower consciousness people. They just live a different reality. And therefore, the way you translate your message as a salesperson needs to meet them where they're at. If you don't learn with role plays like this and real deep understanding human beings, you're trying to talk to everybody in the same way. And that is why your close rate is 30%. Because you're only tapping into a third of the market, your leads, in the way you talk. You need flexibility. You need adaptability to be able to connect with everyone. Excuse me. Let's look at the second one. The power of being, I said that. The power of being a great student. That was already what we talked about. Cadence is the next one. You see me talk quicker when I'm going through the data at certain points, and you see me talk slower when I need to bring things down. That is mastery of sales. It's not tonality. It's being able to see, okay, I'm going to hypnotize the prospect and bring them in, pause, and ask them, how much longer are you going to be a salesperson that is hanging around normal people when there is an entire group of people just like you that are living a bigger life, that are on a mission to become the best version of themselves, that were the misfits, were the outsiders, were the people that didn't fit in. They didn't fit in at school. They didn't fit in with their normal peer group. They knew they were different. If that is you, how many more days are you not going to be around your people? Cadence, control. You got to be able to do that on a sales call. All right, let's talk about the next one. Understanding the human condition. It's not about reading history. It's about actually being trained on the real patterns of human beings. So you can do what we were doing on that sales call. And so you can make a lot of money in sales. And so you can have a massive impact in the world and help a lot of people. Have meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in your life. The energy and the counter force of your energy when you're trying to push someone too far to close the deal, hungry with the power, versus when you're trying to lead someone and you know when to push and when to pull. Learning energy is critical if you want to be a master communicator, master influencer, master salesperson, and get rich in life. If you don't understand the laws of energy, you're just fighting against physics. Open-ended questions allow the prospect to take you where they need you to go and do all the work for you. A lot of salespeople I see, they're working way harder than they need to work. And not only do they work harder, they make less money as a result of trying to work harder. The final thing I'll say is what Michael said. Oh, actually, before that, Lee's notes. Being a great student. Look at all Lee's points, most of which I've just gone through. Are you a student at that level? And again, if you're not a student at that level, then maybe the Unicorn Closer Mastermind is not for you. Because the people in the mastermind, they are studious. Now, you might not have become studious yet about sales, but if this place is for you, there'll be something in your life that you've gone deep on. That's the type of person you are. You go way beyond where most people go. You've studied something at a very high level, something probably weird, unique, personal to you, not the normal studied being a doctor. You've got something you're very passionate about. That will be you if you're meant to be in the Unicorn Closer Mastermind. But if you want to now go down that same adventure of sales and go really deep into studying sales, this is the place to do it. And you see that with the level of mastery that Lee was demonstrating in his notes. Final point was this one. Michael said at the end, there is no possible comparison watching videos versus being here. Do I even need to explain that? Real mentorship, real mastery, real excellence is being on the field, not being in the crowd, being in the stands, and being a fucking spectator on the sidelines. So if you actually want to feel and experience what it's like to be here, be on the inside, role play with me, be trained by me, work directly with the other unicorns in the mastermind, you know what you need to do. I'm not going to tell you what to do anymore because I've really been thinking about this. The people that are in the Unicorn Closer Mastermind that are meant to be inside the Unicorn Closer Mastermind, and if this is you, you'll go, oh, that's me. They are independent decision makers, meaning they know what they need to do and they go and do it. The people that need babysitting and hand-holding and can't make their own fucking decisions, the Unicorn Closer Mastermind is way too advanced for you. Too advanced not in terms of the training's complicated, but too advanced in you're just going to be drowned by the level of consciousness of the people in this mastermind. Because this is for people that are at a high level of consciousness and want to master something in life. And those people make independent decisions. So make your decision. Click the link below the video and join and make an independent decision to do what you know you need to do. I'm not going to make you do anything. For those of you that are meant to be in the Unicorn Closer Mastermind, I know I'll see you on the inside. I'll see you soon.